Welcome to my first ever resin project. We're going into this knowing pretty much nothing. I mean, I've watched a couple of quick videos here and there. I understand the basics, but the whole point of this is to kind of figure out what I know, what I don't know, try things for you guys, and try and learn. First off, I used isopropyl alcohol, so whenever the resin hardens, it can get out of the mold a little bit better. I just use a Q-tip and do a good layer on that mold. Then I am mixing the A and B parts of the resin. You do want to make sure you have gloves and a mask on. This is dangerous chemicals, so you have to be a little bit more careful and make sure the mask is rated properly for things like this. My first really big tip is make sure you measure appropriately. It is actually really good if you can get cups with measurements on them. I am starting all of this with kind of as little as possible. I just got more of the basics so you guys can see what you can work with whenever you don't have all the fancy stuff, and then we'll kind of work into that. When you're pouring your mixes, you do want to try and get every last drop. Resin is expensive, so trying to use as much as possible is always key, and it helps make sure your mixes are a little bit closer measurement wise. You have to be very meticulous with the way you stir. You want to try and keep air bubbles out of this as much as possible, so whenever you're pouring into your main container, you want to try and pour them slowly so you introduce less air bubbles, and while you're stirring, you want to also move slowly and do more of a fold and make sure you're scraping the edges so that you can keep all the air bubbles out. You'll see a thin layer of what looks like almost white going throughout this whole mixture. You want to keep mixing until that white film is kind of cleared out, and then you should be ready to start your pour. When pouring, this is where I said you want to go very slow. Now, even in this, I feel like I could have gone a little bit slower, especially starting out, and then I moved my cup up, made sure there was plenty of time for that just to flow out naturally, and I poured in one spot, kind of letting it just disperse by itself. Again, make sure you scrape the edges so you can get all that resin out and you aren't wasting any. Since this is my first time, I did make a mistake and I didn't add the coloring while I was doing my initial mixture. So I went ahead just to see what happens and put coloring on top. This is just a resin dye, and then I mix it in with one of the stir sticks, and yeah, we'll see how it turns out. After all the coloring is mixed, I used a heat pen that I got. These are like 20 bucks, so it's very good as the basic bare bones thing to use. A lot of professionals use an actual heat torch, or they have a pressure pot, which are things that I want to get once we get moving with this. But again, I want to make this accessible for you guys, so this was kind of the starting point. You want to go very gently across the top and just try and bring out those air bubbles. You can also try and pop them with like a nail or a needle or anything to try and get some of those out, but the heat pen worked really well, at least for the top layer. Since this isn't super fancy, it's only going to do so much, which is why you have to be really diligent when you're mixing to make sure you don't introduce more bubbles. Now that the resin's ready to cure, I have it sitting in a room that's about 70 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and cover it so no dust or anything else can get on it. Now is the moment of truth. It has been, actually I waited 48 hours. You technically only need to wait like 24 for something like this. I just wanted to make sure it's dry, and we'll get it out of this mold. And this is the final product. I'm not super crazy about how the purple turned out, but it's okay. There are a lot of bubbles on the bottom too that I have to be able to work out, but we will figure that all out in the next round. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.